Ciao family. So in today's video, we're going to be making a recipe together. So I thought that this could be really helpful because I do get a lot of questions about what herbs to use. And so I want to show you guys the process and also the method that I go through to make custom blends. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I put up a post and I asked for suggestions and I asked you guys to be as specific as possible. But one of the things that I learned is that a lot of times herbalists don't really get the answers that they're looking for, or people who say they're interested in learning about herbs don't really understand or get the answers because they're not even asking the right questions to begin with. And so to show this, I'm going to give an additional chance one more time to put a suggestion down below, and I'll know whether you watched this part of the video by your responses. So I can't always say that I'm the one who's looking at my comments. Majority of the time, I don't. I have someone that does that for me. But specifically for this video, for the first couple of days, I will specifically be looking at them so that I can make the video for you guys. Okay. So when I asked to be specific, I'm going to show the examples that I got or the questions and comments that I got and how we can make them better the next time. So the first one is, I think with pandemics, it would be great to have some sort of herbal protocol for our immune system, things we can take daily, weekly, and seasonally. And so I understand that that's a good, that is something that people are wanting, because this one did get the most thumbs up from other people as well. But I did say I'm making a recipe, not a protocol. So I'm just making a recipe. I'm making one thing. So you choose whether you want it to be daily, weekly, seasonally. I'm just making one recipe. I'm not making a protocol. I already have that in Herbal Holistic Healing for all the different body systems and all of that. So if that's what you need, you can check that out. I have recipes that you can use daily and all of those things. But right now, I'm just doing a recipe. So also, again, when you just say for our immune systems, how? I also have a chapter breaking down the 3 different stages as it relates to, or the 3 different things that we really look at as it comes to our immune system. So again, make sure that you're being really clear with what it is that you want, so that when I make the recipe, it's what you actually had envisioned. So what do you need for the immune system? More than just using terms like boosting immunity or things like that. Be more specific. Okay, so that's number 1. I'm making a recipe, not a protocol. Number 2, I'm interested in detoxing for children and toddlers with autism. Any herbs you can recommend? So number 1, what's the reason for the actual detox? And then it's going to be really important to know the ages. So when you say children, okay, so toddlers, that's more clear. But when you're saying children as well, is that 1? Is that 3? Is that 5, 7, 9? So I just need to be more clear. That's going to determine the herbs that I might use, or the preparation that I might use, the dosage. So need to be more clear again. We also got wanting a formula with vanilla for mood and depression. What's causing the depression? How long has the depression been lasting? What are they currently doing? Do they take medications for that? We have to be more clear. There's not enough for me to go on. I have to actually be able to visualize a person to be able to figure out a formula for them. Another one, potential blend idea, hormone balancing blend to wake up the adrenals and help restore hormonal balance. I don't like the broad terms, hormonal balance. Yeah, I mean, I have to use that for the titles because that's what people are looking for or searching for. They don't really know, what it is that they need or know how specific they need to be. But is this for a man or a woman? So that's going to determine what herbs you might use or what formula I'm able to make. What is the specific hormone that you're looking to focus on as well? So, I mean, I don't really get a lot to go on, which is why another reason why I don't answer these questions, because I don't get the information that I even need to be able to make a recommendation. To wake up the adrenals, I'm not really sure or clear on what that means to you as a person. Does that mean that they're underperforming? Does that mean that they're weakened, or fatigued? So how is it that you want me to help, or that you're looking to help your adrenal glands? So again, it's not really clear. There wasn't much to go on. And none of these people also even asked me for a specific formulation or specific preparation. Is it a tea? Is it a tincture? Is it a capsule? And so when you're just going to an herbalist and asking them for something, you need to also treat them the same way that you would treat any other person who's going to give you advice. So whether it's just a nutritionist or whatever, you need to tell them, what you're eating or what you're currently doing for them to be able to give you a recommendation. If you go to the doctor, you don't just say, I want something for inflammation. They're going to ask you much more questions. The nurse is going to ask you questions. The doctor's going to ask you questions. And so when you come to an herbalist, you don't just give one sentence or two sentences and expect them to understand what it is, the needs that you have. And a lot of times people think that they need something, and then it's like, actually, the main issue is such and such and such. And so that's why I ask everyone to be as specific as possible for it to be a learning experience for everyone, because you have to be really specific. The age is important. The gender is important. How long this issue has been happening. There's so many more things. And so I may just do a separate video for those who actually want to do custom blends for people to understand what information it is that you even need to have in the first place before you can give a recommendation that is going to be beneficial for them. All right. So I said all of that to say there was one comment that was a little bit more specific. So I'm going to go ahead and address that in a formula. So this person says postmenopausal fatigue, low energy, depression, without the use of prescription medication. Been there. So that's helpful to know that they did use medications. Would have wanted to know which ones. And without the use, so when did they stop using it? Is it, yesterday? Is it a week? Is it a month? Those things would be helpful as well. They say going back to evening primrose. So that means that they used evening primrose and then they went back to it. So what's the reasoning for that? Extra vitamin C. So I guess they were taking vitamin C and they're taking more now. Again, what's the reason for that? Do have to be really careful when it comes to vitamins and minerals. People don't understand that everything in the body really has a relationship. The organs have a relationship with one another. The same with the vitamins. They all have a relationship. Some help the absorption of other vitamins and minerals, and some can actually inhibit the absorption. And then, of course, if you take a large quantities of them, they all have side effects. So you need to be very cautious, because there's no one food that you can take that has so much. And then when you're saying extra vitamin C, how much is it? You would need to know how much it is as well. So there's a whole lot of information that you need to give. There's multiple pages that people need to fill out for forms when I'm doing it as well. Okay. They also using nettle and lemon balm. They said the mix may not be where I need to continue with, unsure. Okay. So it's a little bit more to go with. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So again, there's still questions. I don't know the age. So postmenopausal, I do know about when most women will go through menopause, usually early 50s. So they may be in their 50s to 60s. Again, I don't know. And it would change based on what their age is. Low energy and depression, what's causing the depression? Not that much to go on, but at least I know things that they have tried or are trying. So that gives you something to go on for. So what I usually do is actually I look over people's form, and just like I was doing, I put little questions. So extra, like I said, why are we going back to the evening primrose? So all these things, just so I can remember to address it once I give them their recipe and I give them, instructions, different lifestyle, different things. I also I have to make a lot of assumptions for this, because I have to fill in the gaps of what I don't have. And so these questions and trying to figure out what is it that they've been doing, why also. So seeing their needs here. So menopausal. So that lets me know the affinity that I'm looking at there. Energy, depression. So we see that it's affecting the adrenals. We see that it's affecting the nervous system and also the uterus or the reproductive system as well. Okay. And I'm looking at the herbs that they used. And so I see maybe nettle, evening primrose. Now, both of those herbs are just said for hormonal balance. So, I mean, a lot of times people are using it, but I don't see it as specific necessarily for this. So let me just go ahead. I usually just start writing a bunch of herbs that come to me as I'm reading about them and thinking about them more. I always give 24 hours before I actually start making a blend. And the way that I come up with the numbers or like how much of things I use is actually in the actual process. So I just go with the flow and what makes sense and what's really seeming relevant to me in the moment. And I use a lot of intuition as well. So that, I guess that's something that you kind of have to craft over a period of time. So I can just start writing herbs here. What I don't want, let me tell you how I want this video to be used and the way I don't want it to be used. So I want this to be used as showing you the process, showing you the method, you taking that and you recreating the method to make it more tailored for you. Not necessarily just deciding to write down all of these herbs, just researching them and saying, oh, I'm going to buy it, but understanding more about how the herb would particularly be useful for you, because you get into looking at these herbs, you'll get a list of the different things that it can do, and you say, oh, I need that. I don't really want it to be used that way. And that's not the way that it's most beneficial for you. So I'm just going to say that, and you can use the information however you like, but that is my 2 cents. So Tulsi, basil, milky oat, and then oat straw. I usually put those two together a lot. Excuse typos. I'm going to explain why I put each of these. And I just, keep writing as the information comes to me. So I'll take a second just to see if there's anything else that I want to. And I'm thinking more about the needs that they may have that they did not write. That's another thing. A lot of times people just tell you what is a concern to them, and they don't look at all of the imbalances that they're struggling with and noticing that and knowing that they have a relationship. So there's probably other things going on, and there's always other concerns when you are going through menopause or postmenopausal things with, the bones and the heart and different things like that. So I'm just taking all of that into account. Basically, people are coming to you. You're the professional, so you may know more about what they need. They can only tell you, how they feel, but they don't know the little things that that you should know once you are studying about the different, other things that, increase risks of such and such when you're going through this. They only know about, what they're feeling right now or what they've been paying attention to. But after you've been working with, people with this ailment, you'll notice other different connections that they may have as well. I think let me get on spray tank. So we can put so many different herbs. We can keep going on for a while. The type of preparation I'm going to make is a tea. That's what I usually make for people. Most times people ask me for tea. I know everyone doesn't like a tea, but nobody told me, none of the people actually told me what preparation to make. So I'm just going to make whatever I want as well. So that's why we have to make it tailored, because if a person doesn't like tea, then, so, and the process is different depending on what the type of preparation you're making is. All right. So I just want to give myself a little bit more space. So now I know I'm looking at these different herbs and I'm thinking about how I want to prepare them. So I want to prepare them as a tea, and I'm actually going to do it as an infusion rather than a decoction. So that's going to change the different herbs that I'm going to use. I believe I want to have Tulsi basil and I want to have milky oats as my primaries for more of the supportive or nutritive aspect. I want to incorporate, let's have to cola. And let me just go ahead and explain. Let me start and just put each herb and explain why I'm putting them. So I'm choosing this as a primary because they did mention that the depression is a big thing. Also, the adrenal support is also a big thing, and toasty basil is one of our adaptogens. And so I kind of like it here as the primary. I'm also going to go with milky oats again for the benefits for the brain being really restorative. And so when you're going through menopause, you not only can have, things like depression, but also that might be where the onset of things like Alzheimer's or dementia actually starts. And so we want to get that brain health. We really want to focus on the brain health. And then also milky oats does give more of a moistening quality. So I'm making sure also that, so my method is called the TEA method. So you saw me start by looking at the timing. So what type of preparation was I going to make, and making sure that I'm choosing whether it's an infusion or decoction. So I'm paying attention to the timing so that whatever blend I'm making, all the herbs will be prepared the same way, and that is optimal for the herb. So that's the timing there. I'm also going to look at the end and adjust for taste as well. And then textures, we're just making sure we have different colors and different things going on to make the blend actually visually appealing, which is an important part of the eating, drinking, dining experience is actually the way things look, which is why so much time is taken into how you plate things, as a chef. And so the same way when you're making your formulas, you want to make sure that you have the variety of textures, layers of different flavors and different things like that going on. Then I'm looking at the E now, which is the energetics, making sure that it is really balanced there based on what the person needs. So during menopause, a lot of times the women have issues with dryness, maybe dry skin, dry hair, and also vaginal dryness. So making sure that we have a balanced energetic quality to the formula is important as well. Okay. Then we also have go-to cola. I like this again for the cognition, but also the connective tissue tonic. As we age, we notice, the bones can degrade a little bit. And so also during menopause, you may see things like osteoporosis, increased risk because of a drop in hormones, specifically estrogen, which is really important for the bone health. So having that in there, you see how we're touching different organ affinities as well, which is that A. And we're also having all of these herbs have more than one thing that they're doing for the formula. Now, actually, I'm remembering that it gets cut off. So let me go ahead and change my screen here. Oh, that's too small. I'm going to just show the herbs here. You can see. All right. So I like this here. And we're going to put the percentages later. I'm just going to finish choosing what I want in this formula. All right, so we have go-to cola here. I like alfalfa. Alfalfa has phytoestrogens. It has lots of different minerals. Both of those can be beneficial, as I just explained, for our bones. And so I like that as well. I'm wondering if they have other issues, maybe like with digestion, especially because they're having nervous system issues. They may be having maybe constipation or it's different things like that. So I'm not sure. That's speculation. I'm going to put alfalfa here for that reason. More of a nutritive support, also with phytoestrogens as well. Also like licorice, and I like it because it does give sweetness, but it also is specific for the adrenals, and it also has phytoestrogen. So I have it here for 3 different reasons. But also licorice has quite a bit of contraindications. They didn't list, medications or different things like that. So I'm assuming that they don't. Again, this is why it's not just beneficial to take anyone's formula. You need to actually understand why each of the components go into it. You need to be mindful of contraindications always. Licorice, I like it. I'm going to go for rosemary. Increases circulation, which can be really beneficial. Also, the cognitive support I really like as well. And then also the nerve for focus. Good. Let's see. I'm trying to see. I could also add oat straw. I'm trying to think if I want to. Actually, I think I like this. It has 6 different herbs. I think I feel like we touched all the bases that I wanted to touch. So we're going to leave it like this. Okay. So as I said before, I usually determine how much of anything that I use by actually making the formula, and I use more intuition, but I'm just going to, I usually use parts. So you can use parts, you can use percentages. I'm going to use parts, and that's what I usually use. And of course, if that's not how you like to do it, you can also do the percentages. So I'm just going to do 1 part and do another 1 part of these. I think we'll do half a part. Alfalfa, we could do another half part. I could have put a little bit more, but I'm just gonna make it simple. I'm just gonna go with what first came in my head. The licorice, typically you don't use as much licorice, and I don't want it to be overly sweet. But I feel like I need a little bit more than I would typically use here. And then we could just use like a pinch of rosemary per cup. So we'll just say a pinch per. But like if the person was actually making this, just, take a little bit of rosemary, add it in. I feel like this is really good based on the energetic quality of it. And now, sometimes people overcomplicate things. So it doesn't have to be like 50% moistening herbs and 50% of drying herbs. It doesn't have to be that way. But just make sure that typically, unless it's called for, you might not want 100% of really drying astringent herbs, for instance. So like I'm not doing this to make it 50-50. I think this recipe might be, oh no, the recipe isn't 50-50. Usually it won't be 50-50, but just having some moistness there is going to be beneficial. Now, they didn't say anything about dryness or whatever. If they did, the formula would have probably been leaning more towards the moistening side. So I like this. I feel like this is a real basic formula that definitely would taste good. I'm wondering about the sweetness, but I think that it has a balance of other flavors with the rosemary in there, with some of the bitterness that you do get from the alfalfa gotu kola, and the tulsi basil has a really good kind of taste. I think this would be actually a really good formula. All right, so that's really how simple it is to make formulas. I think that sometimes we just want to be perfect, and sometimes when it's something you haven't done as much, you may feel a little bit more, unsure, but really it is easy. As you learn about the different herbs that you can work with, knowing, little things about how they taste or how they work can let you know about how much you need to use. Like rosemary typically isn't one that I would just, take a whole cup of, or I need to use that much of. Rosemary, you can take small amounts, but you definitely feel it, and definitely will help your recipe and and bring it together. So don't overcomplicate it, guys. My goal isn't for you guys to always, every time something new happens or somebody in your family is struggling with something, have to specifically ask me what can you use. But I want you guys to be able to understand how you actually can do it yourself to figure out what needs to be done. So instead of you coming to me, you can be the go-to in your family. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Again, I am opening up the door one more time for even more suggestions. So take everything that I said in the beginning, or maybe re-listen to it before you leave your comment about something that you want me specifically to make a formula for, and let me know also what type of formula you want it to be. Do you want it to be a tea? You want it to be a capsule, etc.? And of course, it's going to be different depending on different requirements or different things that you need to be mindful of depending on the preparation method. All right. So I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.